everyone. This is Samit from Talk Some Ground. Hope all of you are good. I think India is doing very well now. Even though Donald Trump has tried to put a spanner in the works of the Indian economy is chugging along very well, thank you. And Trump has kind of backed off a little. Maybe it's a tactical retreat, a bluff, who knows. But India is stepping up its game seriously in the Indo Pacific. And trust me, the void that America is creating in the Indo Pacific with this on and off kind of policy is being addressed by India in a very serious manner. And for the first time, we are seeing India stepping up to kind of fill any gaps that were there for the Indians to really own the Ocean. After all, it's named after India. So we're going to just cover three, four steps that India has taken. Of course, you're all aware of Narendra Modi going to the SCO summit and meeting with Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin. Of course, that was a tactical move. It was also pre-scheduled. There was also a thaw in the India-China dispute and relationship. So therefore, it wasn't such a big surprise. It wasn't like a sudden meeting was scheduled. But at the same time, there have been some moves that India has made quickly to kind of push back um, the Chinese influence and also to challenge a little bit of the Western duplicity by covering the void themselves. So let's cover that. First off, let me tell you where India is putting its money. And India is putting its money in its naval force. So India has about 150 odd naval vessels apart from the Coast Guard, and it's pushing down. And there's a 15-year document I've covered earlier in a video um, where India is trying to upgrade its naval force all around in terms of destroyers, frigates, um, submarines, and also carriers. So this is the first attempt to shore up the Indian Navy's capacities and capabilities. And if you remember, Philippines ex-foreign minister, whoever, went to the US and made a statement saying that, you know what, India is the only navy in the Indian Ocean that can really stand up to the Chinese bullying. So that is the reality. There is something else happening, and the Singaporean prime minister was in India, and India has now India has got Singapore's support to join patrolling in Malacca Strait. Okay, now this is a key aspect of security, ensuring security and control in the Indo-Pacific. Now, for India to do this is very important for its own security and for getting a decent amount of leverage with China. If you guys are wondering where all of this is happening, so this is where it is. So this red patch is the Malacca Straits. So you can see this is China, this is India, this is Myanmar, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, and India is pretty much till here. This is, I think, the Nicobar Island. Anyway, so this is where the um, patrolling is most important because this is the only way really to enter the Bay of Bengal, Arabian Sea, and the Indo-Pacific, and then go down south of India and then go northwards to the Gulf. So that is how most of the world trade moves. So this is a very important aspect of Indo-Pacific security and Indo-Pacific security architecture in a way. So India has got a lot of good relationships across the Indo-Pacific, especially on the eastern side. So India is pretty close with Japan. India is building up its relationship with Taiwan, with Philippines, with Indonesia, with Singapore, as I just showed you, and so on. But things get a bit more messier as we get closer to the Indian subcontinent, whether it's just Pakistan, Bangladesh, and so on. But that's more on the continental side. This is not all that India is doing. India has also got, as I mentioned, India has got this Andaman and Nicobar Islands. There has been a project going on which is called the Grand Nicobar project. It's going to take one of these islands, a small portion of it, and make it into a dual use facility. There'll be a port there, a transshipment port, which will be right at the mouth of Malacca Straits. So that will have a lot of economic and commercial and trade implications for everyone involved. And then there will be uh, a naval segment which will also enhance India's projection of power in this area. So, in other words, if India wanted to just shut down, all ships from sailing or just the Chinese ones, India will be able to do that. It doesn't mean that India doesn't have any presence there right now. It does. It's just that we are adding heft to it. And there were some people who had tried to stop that from happening in the Supreme Court of India about 3 years back, and that has been resolved. And the Supreme Court kind of said that nothing doing, the environmental damage will be taken care of, or whatever, we have to balance development with environment. So that was that for the um, as far as the protests go. Even though India's opposition party has now picked this environmental issue up, right as India starts to put its money in the Grand Nicobar project. It's been in the works for a long time. I think the completion date is around 2028, so just 2.5, 3 years later. And this is ringing the alarm bells all over the US for sure, and China as well. There is a third aspect, and the third aspect is very interesting. So there is a country called Mauritius, and Mauritius has something called Diego Garcia, which was with the Britishers for a long time, and it has a small island uh, called Chagos, and India has now got the right to put some surveillance material. Now imagine this place actually has a British and American presence. They've got like helipads there and so on and so forth. So in other words, India is going to so have surveillance rights over the American bases. So that's a pretty solid um, entry for India. So India has secured strategic entry in Chagos, close to the US-based Diego Garcia, which was used in Gulf War, Afghanistan, and Iraq. Now, I'm not saying that India is doing this to pin down the US. The US is kind of constrained to say, "Oh, great! I mean, I'm happy. We are happy that you are here." Um, so, what India is planning to do is to receive data from satellites, do some monitoring. Um, there's a agreement between India and Mauritius on cooperation for establishment of telemetry tracking and telecommunication station for satellites and launch vehicles, cooperation in the field of space, research, science, and application, and blah blah blah. So when countries make some moves like this, the language is pretty benign. Um, there is uh, there is also this new port India is building called the Vadhavan port, which is going to be on the western seaboard, north of Mumbai. Mumbai itself has a very big port, India's largest port, so that is also going to add to the Indian port industry and capabilities and capacities, but also it will be it's going to challenge a lot of the hegemony some of the other ports have. So in the Indo-Pacific, India is really upping the game, so to say. And even though all the conflicts are happening really on the west side of India or on the western borders, it's on the eastern and southern borders that India has really strengthened its presence and its capacity to strike back. And I think US and China are watching. Uh, we'll cover this in more detail as more developments happen, because nowadays geopolitics is an early game and not a yearly game as it was earlier. Do leave your comments. If you like the video, please like it and subscribe to the channel. Share this video with your friends and family. This was Samit from Talks on Down. Thank you for watching.